How did you mess around with the computers at school? There is always the classic. Take a screenshot of the desktop. Set it as desktop background and remove all icons from desktop. Especially fun if the teacher just needs to use the computer to show something and not a computer's teacher. I did that in the robotics lab. Except we would shift the icons a bit and repeat. So the whole desktop would be full of the same 5 shortcuts or something with none of them working. I remember sneaking into the library on Monday morning and starting the download for GTA 1 on the computers. If nobody noticed, we could usually play it by Wednesday afternoon. It was usually discovered by the weekend and deleted. So a few weeks later we would start again. We used to do this, but soon realized a USB was the answer. So I took responsibility upon myself and made a request list. Basically write any game you wanna play on the list. And bam. I've got it at next week's it period. Made a good couple of bucks doing it too. I remember being bored during it class when I was about 16 and I was messing around on a spreadsheet. I highlighted certain cells to spell out duck in giant letters when the mouse pointer suddenly started moving around on its own and clicked on the corner of the screen to bring up my username. About a minute later the computer technician came into the room and called my name and asked me what I thought I was doing and told me to stop it. It was my first experience of computer surveillance and I felt absolutely violated. Turning screens sideways with the keyboard. If you didn't know how to reverse it, it was quite funny to watch people strain their necks. I used to do this every day after I left the computer lab class in 6th grade. Eventually they brought in all the kids who were assigned that computer to the principal's office to find out who done it. They were threatening a superintendent's hearing, suspension, phone calls home, etc. All I had to do was look the principal in the eye and tell him it wasn't me. Shaggy taught me well. I used to take out all the gonads from the computer mouses. Until at one point we were given assigned seats and had to flip the mouse over to show the ball was still there before and after class. Nobody is going out for recess unless the person who took the ball out of the mouse steps up. Ah. Good times. A classmate ended up removing the ball of the mouse. Computers were still new. And the teacher assigned top the lab was actually a language teacher. She flipped. She thought the school will get the new mouse from her salary. Damn. The ruckus she created was a scene worth watching. We had type of folder system and it was called something like shared area where the teachers would put work for us to do. Us however discovered several folders made by some students which consisted of mostly games. But one folder had a folder of folders which basically said, click this. Click me. Keep clicking. Carry 1. You can do it. Nearly there. And in the last folder there was just a picture of Gandhi in it. Before school computers took out the ability to use command prompt telnet. I would use telnet to connect to some server which would play Star Wars IV. It was the full move. Except the entire thing was made out of different text characters. Who in the world has the time to create that? I have no idea. Holy hell. I know exactly what you are talking about. I'm pretty sure there was some type of converter software for that. But still, why? Games weren't allowed on computers so they were all deleted. I emailed Solitaire and Minesweeper to myself from home and reinstalled them. Also, if I sat close enough to a projector in class I'd pull out the AV plugs just enough so they wouldn't make contact but would still look like they were plugged in. Did this at the end of class of course so I wouldn't be in the room when the issue was discovered. We had a folder on the school network where we hid all the games. I contributed some emulators and ROMs to it. I put this circular magnet on the monitor because it made this cool kaleidoscope effect on the screen. I started rubbing it around because it looked so cool and when I took the magnet off the screen stayed that way. I was in 7th grade and ended up getting Saturday school. If only you knew that you could have corrected the color by swiping the magnet near the screen for 5 to 10 minutes until it looked normal. We made a shortcut to shut down eggs shown as Google Chrome. When clicked, it displays this message, your PC is infected with virus. Please contact the administrator. Also, There's a 10-second countdown before it turns off. A buddy and I would make small bat files with reboot commands and then mask them with the Microsoft Word icon and name. Good times. Can this still be done? I'm leaving my company soon and that would be pretty funny if I replace all the SolidWorks icons with reboot commands. Yes. Not really messing with the computers themselves. But my teacher always forgot to make the hyperlink databases for projects view only. So we always ended up with porn or Rick Astley. A kid I knew who was good with computers wrote a script that refreshed the school's homepage every 3 minutes. He installed it on about 40 computers. No one noticed anything for a while. But after a month or so, the view counter on the homepage, because our school website was apparently designed by a blog mom from 1998, was up to several million views. Nobody could figure out what was going on. And for some reason the school's resident rent-a-cop was the one responsible for the website. So this computer illiterate old crank had to fix it. His system restored every computer in the library and both computer labs. The next week, that kid installed it again. Except he had them refresh every few seconds. Back at my old school, you had a screen you had to press Ctrl Alt Delete on to get to the screen where you input your username password to log in. On the first screen, if you pressed enter, it would bring up the help screen telling you how to press Ctrl Alt Delete. No, seriously. Then if you pressed enter again, it'd take you right back to the start screen. So what we'd do is carefully rest the mouse on the enter key on the right hand side of the keyboard, which would cause the computer to rapidly flash between the start and help screen. We'd do this to all the computers and create a beautiful seizure-inducing gallery of flashing computers. Drove the teachers nuts. My high school was pretty new. At the time, they had only been open for only about 3-4 years. But for some reason they didn't put any locks on the desktop cases. So my friend opened the case and stole the 2 GB RAMs. He disabled like 10 PCs this way. I don't know if he used the parts to build his own PC or if he sold them. I think he did it to annoy the staff at the library. Recently a kid at my school was caught stealing GPUs from our new computers. Turns out he stole 25 to run another mining operation. At my high school the computers were all Macs. Macs don't have the desktop icon restrictions Windows has. New folder. Copy. Paste. Repeat. Every copy and paste doubled the amount of folders. After a short period of time there is a few 100,000 empty folders. Eventually the computer can't handle copying and pasting anymore and then freezes. In 7th grade our computers were all Macs with the same password. If your class had to use them the teacher would rent out the cart. The Macs had a screen share setting that required another Mac's password, which were all the same. It basically let you control another Mac at the same time as someone else. No one really knew about it. So me and a couple of friends started hijacking other people's MacBooks. It started out as just a joke, but escalated quickly. We started typing scary things in the search bar like runaway and whatnot. The plan, we wanted them to think it was a ghost, but they thought it was a terrorist attack. Then fun was over when some idiot hijacked the MacBook that the teacher was using. They caught one kid, and the rest of us went free until that one kid had snitched on all of us by the time lunch rolled around. It was a big deal. They called the cops and did a bunch of other extra shit. Surprised I didn't get suspended or something. They just called home. So yeah, you could do that. While playing Speedway Math in elementary school, right around 1989, I used off Jack as my name. So when I got a high score, the top 10 list would display my name as Jack. Off. I had no idea what the phrase meant. Just that it was dirty. I had several of the top scores in my classroom, and the teacher had no idea. I did the same dumb joke in another classroom and the teacher saw it when I wasn't there, and my friend immediately told him I was responsible. One very uncomfortable conversation with 3 teachers about the phrase Jack off, and I lost computer privileges for the rest of the term. In high school my robotics team kept putting Halo on the computers in the robotics lab, just a computer lab where we worked on the robot, and it kept taking it off. Eventually he made it so the system wouldn't allow you to open it. We got around that by using another program, GammaSpy, to open it. In journalism, we would always change the backgrounds on the computers to piss the teacher off. My favorite is when we changed all of them to different pictures of Guy Fieri eating. Some guy wrote a plugin that opened tab after tab of furry porn, fetishes included, as revenge for another fake gang messing with his fake gang. Since we all used one admin account, it installed itself on every instance of Chrome. Complete chaos as nobody knew what was going on. The issue was only exacerbated when it spread to the elementary school. Not me, but a classmate. He bit off the corners of a Pop-Tart so it could fit into the disk drive and closed it. When he opened it back up, it was gone. Open command line. Then force a penis second command line system. Then close the first command line. Then force close Explorer Eggs. Then uses the system command line to open a copy of Explorer Eggs' system. Bam. 90% of the restrictions on the computer's gone. Bonus. After that everything you do is system and not my username. So if I had done something punishable they would have had to do more digging than their incompetent staff would have been able to do. Made myself an admin. And played games and watched movies the rest of the semester. Common moral of the story: change the default password if you use novel software. In elementary school, one of my friends got a hold of the admin password to the computers. So we decided to change the icons and names of the shortcuts. So we went on every computer and rerouted all of the shortcuts to random websites. I believe we put some satanic ritual site in place of Internet Explorer. Never got caught. I never did anything. But my best friend put an entire turkey sandwich inside the case of one of the computers in the video production room. He told me that it eventually started to give off a nasty smell. And when the teacher eventually pinpointed it, he freaked the duck out. It had mayo, lettuce, and tomato on it too. It must have smelled terrible inside of that warm computer case. I got to. For starters, in a computer programming class in high school one day, flash drive with a single program got passed around. Everyone copied it to their machines. It was the multiplayer mode of Halo 1. We all played day long whenever my teacher left the room, which was often. When it got discovered they tried to block it, but if you went into one of the folders and changed the name the system treated it like a different program. Cue an entire year spent playing Halo. I also figured out my school blocker would cover any non-school approved type YouTube videos. It didn't block videos uploaded by personal accounts, so all it took was downloading any video I wanted to watch at home and re-upload as private on my personal channel. When signing off, sometimes the program would freeze before going to the login screen, and at that moment you could open the start menu and uninstall the program that prevents you from doing anything. From there I checked every drive starting at C all the way to Z. So much interesting sheet. Was able to change scores and names on the program to learn to type. Even had access to the HTML templates they used for the school when updating the website to show events and stuff. Yeah, it was fun changing the template every couple weeks and watch it make its way to their website. Before XPSP to the messenger service was enabled by default on all computers. Any PC on the Elon would receive messages sent by any PC. Created a batch file net send you are gay, and the second line was the batch file name. Put the batch file in the startup folder for all users. Whoever logged on the PC next would unknowingly kick off the batch file at login, and the whole campus instantly knew they were gay. There was a way to have a message show up on every computer in the school. The only problem was the tech teacher could figure out what computer it came from. So you just had to wait for a student to leave his computer momentarily while you sent your message out. The principal was pretty pissed when a message stating he liked to suck big dick came up on his screen and every other screen. When someone left their computer I would hold Ctrl W to open 1,000 new windows. Change their homepage to something inappropriate. set a command that pressing a certain key will reset their computer. The school attendance and grade software was a custom-use application that required teacher login and password. However, the network did not require any credentials to log in, and the drive could be mapped to any lab computer. The application used to run encrypted Foxborough database. I routinely edited the database directly to clear absences and missed classes.